So hello, Mr. Hussein. Really happy to see you here today, and thank you for joining us today. BioCentriq has been acquired by a leading Korean pharma group, GC, a few years ago. I know that you have just been appointed as the CEO of BioCentriq, but what do you think are the biggest changes the company has gone through since then? And what changes are you planning to make initially?
Absolutely. First off, nice to meet you. Thank you for the opportunity for us to have this discussion. And you're spot on. BioCentriq was acquired by GC Corporation a couple of years ago. And now with my appointment here, one of the things that we're very excited about is the fact that we have this opportunity to position BioCentriq for the next phase of its growth. From a CGT landscape perspective, um, in my opinion, there is an opportunity for CDMOs to provide more solutions, increased solutions, and solutions that can certainly help get commercialized therapies to patients quicker. Um, and when you take a look at where BioCentriq is right now, it has prior experience. It's produced product for patients going into the clinic. But certainly, given what the market needs, together, myself with the support of GC, we want to help take it to the next level. So I've been with the company now about 3 weeks or so. Certainly have gotten an opportunity to connect with the organization, have a firsthand appreciation for their expertise, their capabilities, and their passion for cell therapy. So right now we're in the midst of putting together that growth phase plan, but ultimately it's towards the goal of providing a solution for innovators that goes all the way through to commercial manufacturing.
GC Cell said earlier this year that it aims to grow its cell therapy CDMO business to become a large global biopharma company. What do you think is BioCentriq's role in this strategy?
Yeah, so when you take a look at GC Corporation overall, as an example, they have a high focus on cell therapy. They have a focus on it from a product innovator standpoint and also from a CDMO standpoint. So GC Cell, as you talked about, is one of their companies that has an approved cell therapy product out of South Korea. And I think BioCentriq's role is going to be that it provides CDMO solutions to GC Corporation, as well as then the pharma and biotech marketplace as well. So, they want to try to provide an end-to-end solution to the market from a product standpoint and from a CDMO standpoint. But of course, they're doing it through different entities because it's very important to them and also to BioCentriq that we keep the product part and the CDMO part separate, so that every innovator has the confidence that they can go and innovate within their own area, and BioCentriq as a CDMO service provider can provide those services because we wouldn't have our own products. And I think lastly to the part that you referenced that was said by GC, the opportunity to kind of take the history and how GC Corporation has served its markets, in the Far East. Now they can do that within the US as well. So that's definitely a goal of theirs.
Um, you have mentioned this briefly, but could you talk about BioCentriq's growth strategy under GC's broader plan? Do you think this would also involve M&As going forward?
Yeah, I think the first element of the growth strategy is to ensure that we build upon the foundation that we have. So certainly the company which has been around, for a few years now, has established a foundation. The first thing that we want to do is build on that foundation, and we want to make sure that we're very successful at that. We deliver for our customers, and then certainly as a part of that growth strategy, things like M&A and additional growth that come through that type of strategy can happen. But the first focus is to certainly grow from the foundation that we have. I think from an acquisition standpoint, that would be more so focused on the infrastructure side right now because we want to make sure that we have the capacity and expertise to support our customers. That's kind of really the focus of phase one of this growth strategy. And then certainly after that, we think we have many opportunities to do more.
Can you briefly explain about what BioCentriq's strengths are versus rival companies?
Sure. So BioCentriq, as I said, I mean, it has kind of been born to support cell therapy, and its focus is cell therapy. And one of the strengths that it has is that it offers a what I would consider a bit of a new approach to how partnerships are done. So first and foremost, it has the foundational experience because certain CDMOs in cell therapy don't have experience yet. They're still trying to form it. We've produced material very successfully. The other aspect of it is that we have what we consider a very flexible approach in comparison to other CDMO solution providers. And as an example of that, our models can range from a hybrid workforce where essentially the innovators people are embedded into our project team. So as an example, let's say a typical project team has 5 people assigned to it at the CDMO supporting all aspects of the project. Well, sometimes innovators have their own people that can support the project as well, and they know the product very well. So rather than 5 BioCentriq people, we may have 2 from an innovator, 3 from our side. So that to us is a big differentiator because that's truly a very much of an embedded partnership. Then also, we have opportunities with the way our capacity is set up that we can very much customize suites to the client's process and to how they would like to run their process. And then maybe another example is ultimately how we do our operational flexibility from a capacity standpoint, because we know that, especially in the clinic, it's not as predictive as other modalities. So we need to offer as much flexibility as possible. And then probably the other big item that I would say is a key differentiator is the fact that we want to make sure that there's a very open line of communication when it comes to data, in terms of how the process is working, in terms of things like IP. We know that cell therapy is a newer modality, and the innovator brings a lot to the table, and it's their product. So things like IP, we want to make sure that that's very seamless, and that doesn't become a roadblock. So those are all elements of what I would consider the cornerstone of BioCentriq, which is that, we're a mid-sized entrepreneurial type of CDMO. We have expertise that we bring to the table, but we also have a pretty keen understanding of what the innovator is going through. So we try to, work on as many of those variables as possible.
Can you also talk about your business priorities and milestones in the next couple of years?
Yeah, absolutely. Great question. I think, first and foremost, what we want to make sure of is that we build ourselves in a way that from an operational standpoint, development standpoint, and quality standpoints, as we scale our offering, right? Additional clinical offerings, then we progress to pivotal and commercial offerings. We want to make sure that the pillars of operations, development, and quality are always set up to the highest tier possible, so that is never in doubt with our customers. So that is the business priority first and foremost. We want to ensure that we flawlessly execute for our customers. Then behind that, we want to also make sure that we have the systems and processes, because cell therapy, again, is a newer modality. So we need to make sure that we're at the latest point and most up to date in order to support the type of manufacturing that's required and the processes. And then I would say the third aspect from a business priority standpoint is to make sure that we have a solid portfolio so that on one hand we can build a track record with many partners, and then that portfolio also gives us an opportunity to grow our business so that we can invest even more in it. But I think with those business priorities, and we're going to look at them in a parallel fashion because we want to make sure that we do everything in a step-by-step fashion. Because sometimes, CDMOs, they try to take on too much right away, and we want to make sure that we do it in a step-by-step fashion.
There are views that the BioSecure Act may benefit CDMOs from Korea and other countries because of the potential impact on major Chinese companies. What is your view on this, and how will BioCentriq prepare for this? Are you considering changing any strategies in this environment?
I would say not changing strategies. If anything, I think the BioSecure Act and what customers in the pharma and biotech space are focused on right now, it just validates that the BioCentriq strategy is the right strategy. And also from a GC standpoint as well, because GC made the investment in BioCentriq. They want a US based CDMO partner that has expertise, capacities, and capabilities in the US. It's able to stand on its own 2 feet. And that's why the growth strategy is very much focused on concentrating on the US assets. So we want to build that, grow that, and ensure that we can support the marketplace, because I think the BioSecure Act is certainly something that is very real. It's raising the right type of questions in our opinion, and it's ensuring that manufacturing, especially for a complex modality like this, is very much based out of the US. Certainly these products are global, so there's going to be a time and place where you need to also have manufacturing across the globe as well. But first and foremost, I think this just supports what we're doing, and I think that's why GC has essentially doubled down on BioCentriq. That's why I'm a part of this journey as well, and that's why we're looking to grow versus go in the opposite direction.
Can you tell us how the global CGT manufacturing market is expected to evolve in the next few years?
Yes, I think the main element there is what we see is we definitely see that there's more and more candidates in the pipeline, right, in the CGT landscape. I think specifically for cell therapy, we see that as those candidates progress, we're going to see more and more commercialized cell therapies as an example. And once those are commercialized, the reach is ultimately going to be global. And the manufacturing for commercialized cell therapies versus other modalities is going to require regional manufacturing. Certainly, I think innovators always want to start with the US. That's where products are always launched first, which is what we're ideally set up for. But then ultimately, as these commercialized cell therapies reach the global network, it's going to require regional manufacturing. And that's where, whether it's a company like BioCentriq that at the right step in its journey expands globally, or it's other CDMOs that are in a position to do that, I think that's how ultimately the landscape is going to go. And certainly that's what's going to be required, because I think there's a lot of confidence that we will see more therapies commercialized.
Lastly, can you talk about the longer term goal for BioCentriq?
Absolutely. I mean, so the way that I think about the growth plan here and the next phase of growth is essentially phase one of that is to expand our offering from clinical all the way through to commercial. It's to try to touch and contribute and ultimately help commercialize therapies across our manufacturing footprint. And then I think post that, let's call that phase two or so. Right now that's not that's not fully baked because we want to leave as many options open as possible. So one thing is we expect to become a pretty dominant force within the cell therapy CDMO space. And as we do that, the long-term aspect could be global expansion of our cell therapy expertise. It could also be potentially going into adjacent modalities as well. It's often gene therapy is linked to cell therapy, so it could be that as well. But I think that the first focus is let's be a solid, reputable cell therapy CDMO with a proven track record that can go all the way to commercial. And then once we build that platform and once we have that expanded reputation in the marketplace, then we can decide where to go next. And I think that's one of the important things that differentiates BioCentriq is because we have said very clearly, and I will continue to reinforce it as well, is that we're focused on cell therapy. We want to make sure that we get this right because the market needs a solution. And then there's going to be many opportunities beyond that. But we want to focus on what's in front of us now because we think that the market needs this. And we think that's ultimately what GC is very supportive of as well.
Okay, that's it. Thank you so much for your time today, Mr. Husain.
Thank you as well. It was very nice to meet you. I appreciate the questions. And if there's anything that you would like me to clarify or follow up on, please feel free to let me know.
Okay, thank you.